Hey gang, Greg Barron here, aka the Professor, and today we're going to jump into predictions for 2024. My number 2 prediction about housing. As you can see by the Fred graph at Q3 2023, the median home price was still around $431,000. That equates to around about a $3,200 a month mortgage. The challenge with the existing market is over 82% of all mortgages outstanding right now have interest rates that are under 5%. Now we call this the lock-in effect. That means that 82% of the market that have existing houses are under 5%. They're not willing to step out and put their house on the market because rates are 2.5% to 3% higher than what they presently have. This stands to reason why there's a 50% reduction in the amount of home sales in America right now. I mean, let's face it, you got a 5% or less mortgage. Who's going to go out and buy something else and move to a 7.75% mortgage, increase their rate, increase the burden in inflationary times? It's just not going to happen right now. So reason says until rates get below 5%, you're going to have a lot of mortgages just locked in, and there's not going to be a lot of movement until rates trend lower to that point. Or at some point, homeowners decide that's a new normal and go ahead and move up into a higher rate. I personally don't see that happening in 2024. At the same time, we've got a supply problem. It's estimated that we still have a shortage of 4 to 5 million homes in the United States right now. Add on to the fact that you've had a 25 to 30% increase in construction cost, along with the housing shortage, along with the lock-in effect of interest rates. You're not going to see a lot of movement, in my opinion, and that's my prediction. You're not going to see a lot of movement in housing prices unless it's just slightly downward in 2024. So I think those of you that are waiting to see if there's going to be a real deal to pick up in 2024, I just don't think that's going to happen to the degree that a lot of people are anticipating. So again, what's my prediction in housing? I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement until interest rates move towards 5% to get out of the lock-in effect. I don't believe either that there's going to be a lot of downward pressure on housing prices until we get past 2024. And I think housing prices is only going to vary just a little bit downward, maybe 5% in 2024. So to tie a bow around the housing prediction, I think unless rates trend lower towards 5%, you're not going to unlock the 82% that are currently waiting that have rates under 5%. Number 2, you're still going to have that supply problem that's given us headwinds to meet the demands. So prices might go down slightly, but not much. Number 3, inflation. As I previously stated, the Fed's wanted it 2%. It's hovering around 3.2% right now, a long way of where it was 6 months ago, but still not at the target rate at the Feds. So what's really going to get us down to a 2% target? Well, the challenge with this is 40% of the CPI, which really is a gauge for inflation, is made up of 2 components, food and shelter. Now, if what I just told you is true about housing or shelter, that means that that's going to be very stubborn. Food prices in 2024 are also going to have a lot of headwinds to retreat. So although the Fed might lower their Fed fund rate 2 to 4 times during 2024, I just don't think that they're going to meet that 2% target. I think that inflation is really going to stall around 3%. So ultimately, because of those 2 major areas that make up the 40%, food and shelter, I think that inflation is going to reach a lot of headwinds trying to move below 3% in 2024, regardless of how many rate moves. And I think they're going to be minimal that the Fed makes in 2024. So I'm predicting an inflation rate between 2.75 and 3% for 2024. Last but not least, number 4 is rent for 2024. What do I think is going to happen? Today in America, the average monthly rate is $1,850. So here's a challenge that we're going to have for the next couple of years. We got people that can't afford to go into a new home, so they're going to stay in or migrate to the rental market, but we don't have enough supply for the needs that we have right now. Coupled with the fact, because of the interest rates that we just discussed, there's no new product that's really going to come online other than what is in the pipeline right now. So what we have is an affordability crisis along with the supply problem. So presently, because of the disparity between homeownership monthly payments of $3,200 and renting at $1,850, that's basically a 50% disparity between buying and renting. Reason says that people are going to stay in the rental market. So economically, if you can't afford to get into a new home this next year, you're going to go into the rental market. If you're going to go into the rental market, it's going to increase more demand. You've already got a supply shortage even in the rental market. So reason says rental rates should rise, if only slightly. If you like the content, be sure and like and subscribe. By the way, I'm interested in your comments on what you think 2024 is going to bring in the way of inflation, housing, interest rates, or rent. I hope you're having a great holiday season, however you celebrate. Remember, educate, evaluate, so you can ultimately execute to make good financial decisions.